This, you know, usually I actually think that the balance patches are actually, in general, really good. I think this is probably one of the first massive misses I've seen from ArenaNet in terms of balance patch. Because this is a swing and a miss, guys. Holy shit. Like, this is apocalypse. These balance notes, I think we're definitely getting to the level of cock and ball torture and dick flattening, right? Maybe Frosty was right. But guys, hear me out. Frostball99, I'm sure you guys know I'm a big Guild Wars 2 fan, loves Guild Wars 2. He has actually made the claim that Guild Wars 2 is a social experiment on, like, how much they can troll their own player base before they all quit, right? How much CBT can you guys take? I think it's a good question. You know, it's definitely a good question. Okay. Listen. If you're currently on copium, enjoying Guild Wars 2, then I've got a little advice for you. Don't watch this video. Don't watch. Just sink back, go to the open world, maybe do a raid, do some strike missions, and just play the game. Just have fun. You know, just farm a little gold, grind a little content, get a little loot, you know. Just have a good time. Don't read the patch notes. Don't. You don't want to. So, we've got a bit of an interesting patch here, and it's the balance patch, long awaited for Ender Dragons. Let's see what happened here, and a few other things happened. There's actually a few world versus world and PvP changes in here too, but a lot of it is actually targeted at PvE specifically. And just to give you a bit of an overview, here's the theme. The theme is loads of AoE Fury now. Unique modifiers are just being deleted. Signature on Guardian is gone. One wolf pack gets bopped as well. Spotter is gone. Empower allies, right? All this stuff. Banners, spirits, right? This stuff is no longer unique modifier. It is all boons now. So let's just go ahead and get on right into it. So Rune of Sanctuary. This rune now also converts incoming healing from healing over time effects such as regeneration into barrier. This effect now only occurs while in combat. To account for healing over time effects, now activating this rune, the percentage of incoming healing converted to barrier has been reduced from 20% to 10%. And they actually did this with a few effects. They do this with Blood Bond, or Blood Bank, I think, actually, in Blood Magic. They just like this. They like the way this works for whatever reason. Instead of the other way. I mean, it's passive. It's kind of meh, right? Overall, I'm not even sure if it ends up better or worse here. Like, if you have a lot of regen, it probably ends up being pretty good in terms of overall sustain that you get from this. Particularly seeing as barrier is typically a little bit better than healing. So, and it's a pretty interesting change, I guess. But it's just like a bit of almost like a flavor thing there as well. That's the warm-up. I'm easing you guys into it, okay? I'm easing into it. And here we go. Missed Defensive Potion. The Fractal Attunement Masters now causes potion to convert a percentage of agony resistance into vitality instead of precision. And Mist, very weird that it's the offensive potion that does this. And basically, why did they do this? Well, ArenaNet don't want you to be... They don't want precision coming from external sources. They want traits, boons, and gear to give you precision, right? Rather than anything else. And I guess food too. And they don't want external sources. You get loads of extra health now. I think they gave it vitality because they also want to make squishier builds tankier, right? So stuff like Weaver and stuff like Dragon Hunter, right? They want to up the vitality as well, just to give it a bit more health. Thief too as well, obviously, right? To give it some more health. That's probably part of their goal here with that too. But again, these are some... I mean, this is going to make like a few Fractal tryhards quit the game. But you know what? They're already quitting the game anyway. ArenaNet's just finishing them off, guys, okay? They're just, you know, they're just getting the job done, making sure that the Fractal hardcore community is gone. Boom. Love to see that. Next up, White Mantle Portal Device, guys. Oh, yeah. Getting removed. Boom. Right, General. Fury. Critical chance bonus increased from 20% to 25% in PvE only. It's actually a very significant buff to Fury, because Fury is already a really good boon. It's basically 420 precision. Now it's even more than that, right? You get another 105 precision, right? So, pretty good, okay? You know, it's pretty strong. You know, what can I say? It's very good. And this basically is intended to account for the lack of precision from banners, because banners used to give you like an extra bunch of crit, because you get precision on the banners there, and also from spotter as well. A lot of classes have an extra 5% crit now, to kind of compensate for spotter and banners being removed. We'll get to that a little bit later. Overall, this just makes Fury even stronger than it already was, which is quite nice, I guess. And yeah, it's basically just like to compensate for some other changes here as well. Some things with Fiery Greatsword, blah, 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 blah. They reduced the target cap. Dude, unlucky. You hate to see that. I think they already did that in PvP and World vs. World, but now they're doing it in PvE as well. You know what? Just, we can't have a patch without a few Ellie nerfs, guys, okay? We just can't. Can't happen. Elementalist, here we go. Earth Shield. Stone Sheath and Magnetic Surge, they have cooldown increases. This is honestly a good change. And this is actually the silver lining of this patch. I think the PvP changes, while they aren't quite enough, I think they are, in general, changes in the right direction, targeting some very key strong abilities. Earth Shield is actually a really, really powerful skill. It's honestly one of the best utility skills in PvP. And particularly now that we're seeing Tempest kind of rise up a little bit, kind of makes sense that Earth Shield does get adjusted down a little bit. However, I think I would like to see some buffs to Ellie to compensate for this, because while Tempest is good, Weaver and Catalyst, not really, right? So I think that this does give a little bit more breathing room for Elementalist to have some buffs down the line, right, in that regard. And just for the record, this second skill here, it's the block that gives barrier, and Magnetic Surge is the dash skill that also dazes and gives magnetic aura there as well. So pretty powerful skills with some increased cooldowns there as well. It's still a very good skill, though. I mean, you're still running Earth Shield, right? You know, you're running Earth Shield. Because it just has so much utility. You've got the invulnerability, you have mobility, you have a pull, you have you know, block, right? It's just a good skill. It's very, very strong. Then you got air here as well, and this is where you're going to get to a lot of the PvE stuff. So you get 5% critical strike chance while attuned to air. This is a really weird one because you want to crit all the time, not just while you're attuned to air. So you get your 5% crit, but only in air attunement. But what about fire attunement? What about your earth skills? Well, unlucky, buddy. You don't get your 5% crit chance there as well. Kind of weird change there, to be honest. Oh, no. Rage Absorb. This is actually a really cool change. Fury duration is up to 4 seconds. And now you get AoE Fury, too, in a 360 radius with an internal cooldown of 8 seconds. So 50% Fury uptime, basically just for free. You just get that Fury whenever you crit. Pretty cool stuff. It's a nice change. I kind of like this design. I think this allows DPS builds to actually be a bit more flexible and provide more utility, which I think is a good thing, right? Slightly hybridizing DPS builds, giving them some more utility, I think in general makes the Glacier builds a bit more attractive. So yeah, stuff like this is pretty good. I am actually going to kind of summarize a lot of these changes because I want to do like a full deep dive when the patch is here so I can show you guys this stuff in the actual game, show you all the new effects and how the abilities work. So this is going to be much more of a summary rather than like a full deep dive into these abilities. So we are going to kind of just go over this and so we can kind of get the point across right pretty quickly. Staff! They just buffed a bunch of staff skills in PvP and World vs. World. Are you going to run staff in PvP and World vs. World? Honestly, I don't think so. I'd be very surprised. Although, having said that, double condition cleanse on Healing Rain in World vs. World, that might be quite attractive. But the thing is, a lot of your cleanse in World vs. World actually comes from spamming auras rather than actually using abilities directly. So I'm not really sure if that's going to be capable of competing there. But hey, you got a lot of extra healing there. You did used to play Staff here on Tempest back in the day. But to be honest, without like the Mega Revive trait, I don't think it's super attractive. And yeah, you're just too squishy. You're going to be very, very vulnerable, right? And in World vs. World, I'm not seeing it, to be honest, for this. It will be nice on Weaver, right? In World vs. World, because you do play like a Staff Weaver there with some big damage. You just get some free cleanse there, which is pretty cool, and more chill up time as well, and just a bit more damage on some of your abilities. So that isn't horrible, but there you go. Elemental Refreshment. I actually really like this change. for Weaver in PvE. You get barrier whenever you use a dual skill, and you share it to allies now with a 360 radius. It's around a 500 barrier. It's actually really cool. I think this is a very powerful trait now from a design perspective. It means that that slightly glacier build that is Weaver now has a bit of baked-in support that kind of nudges it towards the Scourges and Firebrands. Is it there yet? Definitely not, but I kind of like where that's going. And Lucid Singularity, this is the big one that everyone's been talking about. Alacrity to nearby allies upon successfully completing an overload with a duration of 6 seconds and a radius of 360 seconds. 360 seconds, a radius of 360. So, this means you can give Alacrity uptime. And you might go Heal Tempest. Maybe. I mean, kinda. You can definitely play Heal Tempest with this setup with Staff. And probably the Arcane trait line, I'd say, is probably the way I'd go about doing it. But you do give up Aura Healing here, which actually kind of sucks, right? Okay, like, this definitely sucks. Because that's a really important part of that build. And also, you know, you lose healing for this. So I'm not sure if this is the cleanest way to go about doing this. It's a pretty hefty trade-off. Of course, you still have a lot of healing on Staff, so it kind of works out. You got Soothing Mist, for example, Regeneration, Staff Aura attacks Geyser, and so on. And you will be able to apply good Alacrity uptime with this. It's a little bit annoying that it's kind of after the overload, right? As opposed to maybe at the start of an overload or in some other way, like on an aura application, for example. Maybe that'll be a little bit too boring, right? We've all these traits apply on auras. Funnily enough, I do think this does make it so that Ritualist Tempest, definitely a good build, because you can apply Might, Protection, a bit of Fury in there as well, Alacrity, Swiftness, Vigor as well. That's a pretty juicy build, actually. So some kind of Ritualist or Celestial build, I think, can be really good on Tempest. And Heal Alacrity Tempest is there. Is it going to compete with Firebrand? And I think that's where it's going to have trouble, right? And that's why I see it more as a DPS option rather than as a healer, because it's not really heal mech, right? Heal mech is just a bit more versatile. You do have some really nice healing output, better healing than mech, and you have better like revival power. But I do struggle a little bit with this fully competing with that slot for the healer slot. I see it definitely more as an offensive option rather than like a full healer option there as well. But we'll have to see how it pans out. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So, like, let's get this stuff done first. They just messed around with a bunch of skills on Hammer, right? Essentially, they just messed around with it a bit. They reduced some damage, but they removed the aftercast, so, you know, you get more damage from the aftercast being removed, but you also lose damage on the actual skill. They reduced the damage on the water auto attack. No idea why. Most random fucking change ever, not gonna lie. And they buffed the Water 2 skill up a little bit there. Like, the power coefficient is 0.45 to 0.5, basically 2.0 from 1.8. So a significant buff there, I guess. They just moved the numbers around. I don't really know why, but they did it. There you go. That's how it is. They nerfed the Jade Sphere damage in PvE. Oh, Catalyst. Ouch. Right, this change, this is where things get really, really weird. So the default boon on the Jade Sphere in air is now Fury, not quickness. And honestly, this is actually a good change, straight up. Baseline quickness is kind of unhealthy. It means that you can stack loads of things and just do damage and just kind of passively share quickness without any kind of investment. Leads some kind of degen gameplay, like stacking loads of Catalysts or stacking loads of Dragon Hunters, as we saw there as well. Kind of funny that you could still do this with Firebrand, to be honest, but listen, okay, we don't talk about that. And people are really going to cry about this change, guys, but straight up, Catalyst actually did a crazy amount of damage. It's like benching like 47k or something insane like that. It's absolutely still going to be a good build, like, despite some nerfs here. It's still going to do a lot of damage if you can play it well, so it will deliver value to you if you're able to play it effectively. They're just trying to move it away from, like, the mega stacking gameplay that you had there as well. Spectacular Sphere now increases the radius of deploy Jade Sphere from 240 to 360 in all game modes, which is I think this is like a change that it really needed, actually. In PvE only, it causes deploy Jade Sphere in air attunement to additionally provide quickness and reduces all outgoing damage by 10%. Like, ugh. So this, in my opinion, is the wrong way to go about this, okay? Because they just said, you know what? If you want to give quickness on Catalyst, we're not going to try and do it in a subtle way at all. Like, make the damaging trait really good. So, like, the trait where you get more stacks. They weren't going to buff that, for example. No. What they did was, they just make you just eat. Like, this feels bad. Let me just cut to the chase. I think abilities like this feel fucking bad. Like, taking a trait that reduces your outgoing damage. Ugh! No one likes that. No one's having fun there. Like, from a balance perspective, it actually makes sense. Okay? It makes sense because, again, Catalyst does a shit ton of damage, and you want there to be this trade-off when you give quickness. And there wasn't really one, to be honest, or it was a very minor trade-off. But this is the opposite way you should do it. You should make the damaging traits better, so you don't have to, like, deliberately make the build worse when you take the quickness trait. I think the approach here was you reduce the overall damage of Catalyst and make the damagey trait really, really strong, so that it's like a big trade-off when you want to give quickness on this build. And funnily enough, here's the other elephant in the room. And look, honestly, this is for another video. We're going to move on here a little bit. Here's the issue with this, though. Catalyst is in this really weird spot where it's actually very low utility, doesn't really have amazing boon output outside of quickness. So it's like, even though you have really good damage, it's not actually that good, honestly. Like, Firebrand will do very, very well compared to it a lot of the time. And Firebrand has a zillion% more utility. Oh, man. Yeah, look, spoiler alert, this patch is a bit of a mess. And they haven't addressed a lot of these really core issues, which is just the disparity in utility and defensive power between certain specialists. They aren't balancing around how squishy stuff is and how melee things are and how much utility they have for free. They're not balancing it around that whatsoever. And this is why Catalyst is getting nerfed, whereas realistically, it probably shouldn't be getting nerfed this hard, right? I think it definitely... You know what's funny, actually? No, I'm going full meme mode, right? Because of how low utility Catalyst is, you could honestly justify it having insane damage. Because of how strong stuff like Scourge is at like 37k, Firebrand kind of again around that 37 to 39k region, and they have godlike utility and loads of stuff baked in, and a lot of them, they have ranged abilities and they have support abilities, you could honestly justify Catalyst having 45k or even more than that. That's the real headline here. From a pure balance perspective, it is very justified. Like, these nerfs are actually harsh, considering how low in utility Catalyst, and in general, a lot of Elementalist DPS builds really are. So, rip Ellie's, guys. Viable Ellie spec detected, nerfs erected. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, Engineer. Hip shot has been replaced by rifle. Basically, look, I'm just going to TLDR this. They buffed rifle a lot. If you're a rifle holosmith, yay! If you're not a rifle holosmith, well, I guess you don't care. So yeah, you do more damage now. Net shot is actually really strong. 4-second orb. That's a really neat piece of utility, actually. Combine that with, like, glue bomb. You've got a lot of immobilize, actually, on your rifle toolkit. And your auto attack is better. Honestly, this doesn't actually help rifle holo that much, because you don't really auto attack that much on holo, because you're kind of using your kits a lot of the time. So, yeah, whatever, right? It's a bit of a meh. Throw mine. World versus world change. Here as well, actually. Reduce the amount of boons removed from 3 or 2 and World versus only. I mean, yeah, throw mine, actually a good skill, funny enough, guys. Because boon removal, it's pretty fucking good. And now it's less good. And in general, NG is really strong for World versus World Zerging. And that's kind of what you see changes like this. Firearms. Hematic focus, critical strike bonus, increased from 10 to 15%. Basically, when you're striking a bleeding target, you get this crit chance, which in PvE is basically all the time, right? There's always some bleeding about the place here. So that's where you get your crit chance back from losing Spotter and losing Banners, in addition to Fury. So really nice change there. You're blasting, you're having a good time. Pinpoint distribution. You get 5 stacks of might with a 10-second duration on a 10-second interval. So you just have like some random pulsing might now if you take that. Now, in general, you won't be taking that because you're going to want to take no scope a lot of the time on these power builds. So yeah, there you go. And no scope, it's a really nice added bonus. You now give AoE Fury whenever you kind of land one of these critical strikes, I believe. Yep, here you go. You gain Fury, and it's on an 8-second cooldown. So now you give AoE Fury. How crazy is that? Wow. Insane. Cool for Scrapper. Cool for Hollow. In general, a lot of classes have a mechanic like this. So you're going to see a lot of just like Fury spam. Loads of free Fury in there as well. Aim assisted rocket. Boom. Minimum range threshold. You can use this now. It's kind of a fun trait. Are you going to use it? I mean, probably not. But it's kind of cool. You can basically use it in melee range now. If you're like max melee range, you can kind of get the... I feel like they could have just removed the minimum range, right? Why does it still have a minimum range? I don't know. But yeah, there it is. Now, this is honestly the most relevant one, I'd say. Medical Dispersion Field. This trait now stores self-applied healing while in combat and expends all stored healing at each 3-second interval to heal nearby allies. This trait now functions with healing over time effects such as Regeneration, Big Boomer, Backpack Regenerator, and Rectifier Signet. To account for healing over time effects now activating this trait, the percentage of healing stored from each heal has been reduced from 50% to 32% in PvE, 25% to 17% in PvP, and 15% to 10% in World versus World. This is such a weird thing. Now, this actually might end up being better in PvE, especially because the way this trait works is that you only get it. Basically, it copies healing that you apply to yourself to nearby allies. But hang on, it only does that if you actually heal yourself. So if you're at full health, like you quite often are, a lot of the time in PvE, you don't really get a lot of value out of it. Right? To be honest. If this will now actually work, even if you're at full health, then it's going to be really good in PvE. But yeah, in every other game mode, this is a nerf, because, well, especially World versus World, because again, you've got a lower percentage, like a lot lower actually, and it's at a 3-second interval. This is such a weird change, right? To be honest, I think it's such a really weird change, in general. I guess you get like really bursty healing, every 3 seconds or so, I guess. And the regeneration is nice too, actually, because you're going to really get a lot of value out of that. You're going to have like perma-regen in a lot of these game modes. Angel is saying it's a buff, so maybe it is. He knows what he's talking about, but to me, it just makes it feel really unwieldy. I don't like the design. I'm very against the design of this trait. You know, it's just such a downgrade to me. It's very awkward. I feel like it isn't that good, to be honest with you. Particularly seeing as it does lose this percentage. Because, yeah, you don't have control over it now. It's going to, like, fire off at random times, as opposed to being very consistent. Like, when you burst heal yourself, right, it will then burst heal your allies there as well, right? Yeah, you're going to have to, you'll have to be, like, good with your timing, right, to try and get value out of it. Like a delayed heal that will kind of re-sustain you afterwards, I guess. Which is pretty okay, I guess. But yeah, very interesting change there. Not a big fan of that. Mechanist. The mech's defense bar is locked, so it can no longer be CC'd in PvE. Nice. I like that. Good content. Mech arms. Jade cannons. Now additionally increases the mech's base critical chance from 25 to 25%. And 5 to 10% in PvP and World. If explosives are traded with the aim assisted rocket, the mech also gains the event of that trait. Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Jade cannons, and you get the rocket there too. I mean, well, now we know why they reduced the range threshold, right? So the mech can always get that skill off. It's actually a pretty damn big buff to power mech in PvE. So like the power Alacrity Diviner mech, actually a really good build already, by the way. Now that's a lot better because you just get more crit chance on your mech, which is going to blast harder. I think in general, they've nerfed Condi mech a little bit, I believe, actually, overall here. Yeah, confusion duration per hit in PvE is down from 10 to 5 seconds. Ouch. Big ouchie. Goodness me. Oh, I actually like this. This is a really nice quality of life. When using a mech command skill, most other mech command buttons display a cooldown equal to the casting time of the mech command being used to probably indicate the time remaining until they can be used. This is good because the mech will animation lock itself quite a lot, actually, and this can make it annoying to use your mech skills, so having some kind of visual feedback on that one is quite nice. Although I think this means you can't cancel your mech skills now, actually, because you won't be able to use other skills. For example, you can kind of cancel other mech skills using the stun break, the F2 one that gives you, like, crisis zone, right? And I guess you can't do that anymore, maybe? Oh, no. Never mind. Next line. Yeah. You can, in fact, do that. Maybe use instantly while another mech command skill is in progress. Oh, without... Ooh! Oh, shit! Without interrupting that skill. Ooh! Okay. Never mind. That is actually a meme in that case. That is a big meme, my friends. Okay? Because now, that's a really nice quality of life change to heal mech, actually, because it's quite easy to cancel your other abilities there and completely troll yourself. Not bad, actually. Stun duration increased from 0.5 to 1 second. I mean, okay. That's something, I guess. It actually doesn't really change that much for PvE because you get the 1 second of defiance anyway. So I guess with Paralyzation Sigil, it ends up being a little bit better. Mech Fighter. The mech's rocket punch is now triggered whenever skill 3 is used on an equipped engineer weapon. Oh, I see. Okay, I see, yeah. So they dislocated the rocket punch from the Mace 3 skill. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Rocket Punch no longer stuns and instead deals 100 defiance damage to enemies with an active defiance bar. Wow, that's so weird. It no longer interrupts other skills the mech's wrong. Wow, they've really streamlined the mech. Dude, I feel like ArenaNet just loves mech. Yeah. Like, someone at ArenaNet HQ loves Mechanist. Core reactor shot, duration, animation jazz down there as well. J Dynamo. Yeah, this is like definitely the odd one out when it comes to that trait there as well. It no longer causes mech attacks to somewhat include an explosion, nor does it allow the mech to inherit the effect of the explosive trait. Instead, it now reduces the cooldown of mech command skills by 20% and grants quickness after a mech command is used. So they're trying to make this into like a solo trait, I guess. Is it good? Probably not. The problem is you're so tied into what trait you want because of the mech command skills you get. And are you going to want to take this? Probably not, to be honest. I don't think so. Because, you know, the other ones are really powerful, right? Like, you know, getting the F3, like the barrier burst is really fucking nice. Like, you definitely want to have that. But I guess they're trying to make it a little bit better. So you can spam your mech skills a lot more. Kind of like an aim, you know, trying to make power mech a little bit better, right? That's the goal. That is how it is, my friends. Nice fucking meme. But anyway, here we go. Vulnerability and confusion duration per hit on Superconnected Signet is just reduced. Yeah, and again, they're just nerfing Condimech here a little bit. Like, the confusion was pretty wild, honestly, on this build, and it really made the damage go crazy. So, I mean, at least they are nerfing Condimech a little bit. It was a very, very strong build. But, and yeah, and Power Mech is still cool, so you can do that too. The era of the Mechanist has arrived, my friends. Oh, yeah. Very, very nice indeed. All right. So, let's move on to Guardian. Strength in numbers. Again, this is the toughness trait. It's been reworked. Grants protection to allies while in combat, applying protection with a 3-second duration on a 10-second time interval. So, here's the thing about this. This is, I mean, you don't take Valor in PvE, so you're not going to take it there, to be honest. But it is pretty good in PvP, right? Actually, like, that's a lot of protection, actually. Like, protection's quite hard to come by, and you do take Valor there. So I could definitely see that actually being a pick that you would definitely think about. Like, just decent uptime of protection in a large radius, pulsing out. It's pretty damn good. It is pretty Guardian. A few nerfs here. They nerfed down burning duration on Unblood Wrath. Firebrand's very strong, so I think it's fine to nerf it. But this is the big one, actually. Pervert Inscriptions no longer grant Signet passive effects to allies when activated. Instead, Signets continue to provide their passive effects while recharging. Ugh. Like, this is not good, okay? This is such a sad thing. Why do they hate unique modifiers? This is like the one unique modifier that was actually quite interesting, right? It wasn't permanent. It wasn't mandatory. It was very skill-oriented, very timing-oriented. Boom. Gone. Deleted. It's out of here. You really hate to see that one. Very unfortunate stuff. They buffed the Signets a little bit. I mean, the heal skill is pretty damn good, actually, to be fair, right? But Signet of Mercy, Signet of Wrath. And this is nice, you know, that's a really good piece of utility in PvE to be able to immobilize something for 6 seconds. It's very strong. Like, guys, that's like 12 seconds of immobile, something insane. If you're playing Condi Quickness Firebrand, like actual lunacy, really strong piece of utility there. You know, if there's one thing, guys, that Firebrand needs, it's better utility. Am I right, guys? Oh, well, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sad about Pervert Inscriptions. It means that you won't play Radiance on Firebrand either. For heal Firebrand, you're always going to play Virtues. Because the reason you would take Radiance on heal Firebrand was to give the DPS increase with Pervert Inscriptions. And now, you aren't going to do that. Not going to happen. Kind of cool rework to Signet of Courage, but there's too much holding it back, right? It's a long channel. You can't move while you're casting it. It's honestly not a bad skill for the passive on heal Firebrand if you're not applying quickness for some reason, but other than that, it's pretty meh. Mantra of Solace. You gain Aegis and a in PvP and World vs. World. I don't know why they did this. And actually, this is something that we see a lot here, and I'm gonna say that I'm really against design like this. They are making a few skills work differently in different game modes. So in other words, this is applying different boons in PvP and World vs. World. Right? This is absolutely bad, in my opinion. This is like just super confusing, right, for new players. Because like they're learning how an ability works in PvE, and it works totally different in PvP and World vs. World. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. This is obviously really nice if you're playing Firebrand in PvP and World vs. World. You're having a great time there. I think particularly in World vs. World, you know, you got absolutely oofed by losing your Aegis there on your heal skill. Definitely sucks. But, yeah. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this. I think from a design perspective, it's not good. And there are a few changes like this. We saw one with Catalyst, and we see a few others later on down the line as well. But, yeah. Bit of a nerf to Willbender in PvP. And this is a running theme. You know, the changes in PvP I think are good. Willbender is very overtuned. This reduces the mobility. This is the F2 skill. So you can't move around as fast. You have less cleanse output as well. Less evasion baked in too. You know, you get less value out of your renewed focus, because you only have one charge now. I mean, I got no complaints about that. You know, Willbender is very, very strong, and it definitely needed a nerf. I think this is a solid nerf to this as well. I think in general, the cooldowns are still a little bit too low on Willbender. I think the damage is fine. It's just I think the defensive power, the sustain that it has, and the team fight value it can deliver is a little bit too high. This is a step to addressing that. So not too bad. Not too bad at all in that regard. But yeah, not too much with the Guardian. A few nerfs here and there, but nothing much. Sad about the signet change, but oh well, that's how it goes. Mesmer! Master Fencer. Now may activate on any critical hit, granting 4 seconds of fury to 5 hours. Hey, look, it's that trait again. You know, this is the weird thing, right? Okay, I'm a little sad about this. Guys, this might be a crazy complaint. Okay? This is a crazy complaint. But why are all these traits the same? Okay. This is the same trait. It's literally the same trait. As we've seen this 3 times now. Okay? And, spoiler alert, Assassin's Presence gives Fury, Spotter gives Fury, Pinpoint Distribution gives Fury, and Empower Allies gives Fury. These are all the same ability. Stop copying the same fucking trait. Yeah, I don't know. I'd really like to see different variants. At least make them work differently, right? But they're literally the same fucking trait being copy-pasted across all classes. Not a fan of that. Not very exciting. And also very passive, as Boyce is pointing out as well. A lot of this stuff is very passive, which is not good, right? Passive gameplay is not ideal, to be honest. Oh yeah, Pinpoint is Might. Pinpoint and Empower Allies is Might. Spotter and Assassin's Presence of Fury. It's... not ideal here. So you get the... Look, dude, what? This is so troll. Oh my god. Dude, bonus critical chance from Fury increased from 10% to 50% in PvE. So in other words, Virtuoso gets the crit chance back from losing banners, but only Virtuoso. So not Chronomans, which has a power DPS build, and of course you have a power quickness build too, where you want to crit cap, but only Virtuoso. Why? Oh god, no. Bladesong Sorrow, this is for this. So a slight nerf to Condy Virtuoso. This actually isn't a big deal. You might go, wow, this is really bad. Actually, not really. A lot of your bleeding comes from your on-critical strike traits on Virtuoso, not actually from just the Bladesong on its own. Like, it's very crit-focused build on Condy Virtuoso, actually. So just be aware of that. It's all about that crit with dueling and, of course, the Virtuoso trait line too. So this is actually just a minor nerf. It's still very strong. Like, Condy Virtuoso is not going anywhere. Seize the moment. Dude, Chronomanes rejoice. This is actually some pretty interesting changes here to Chrono. The radius is up to 360 on Seize the Moment. This is way better from a quality of life and usability standpoint, particularly if you're tanking on Chrono at the same time. And they completely changed how Shield 5 works as well. Tides of Time now also applies quickness in a radius of 360 for a duration of 5 seconds when cast. And this is actually mirrored on Stretch Time, the other alacrity, the other trait, which is basically Lost Time. This is a trait that actually did see a bit of play in World vs. World, but now it's being replaced by a new one. The first pulse of a well also applies alacrity for 4 seconds to allies near the well in a radius of 360. Tides of Time now also applies alacrity in a radius of 360 for a duration of 5 seconds while cast. So basically, you pick between quickness and alacrity on Chrono right now, and alacrity, you're going to want wells, and quickness, you're going to be basically just shattering, right? So shattering for quickness, wells for alacrity. I actually don't mind that. A bit of a split in the way the gameplay works, and you don't need to take a well anymore to give quickness, but you are going to have to take shield. This is the weird thing about this. A lot of the time, you actually don't want to take shield because you want to take a more aggressive weapon choice for Chronomancer. So, okay. That's something, I guess. So, if Firebrand. So, Chrono, still in a bit of a weird spot, I think, and your damage output is going to be a little bit scuffed. If you play this. Although you do have some pretty good base durations here, so you can probably get away with pretty low boon uptime on this build, to be honest with you. Not too bad. And yet, Tides of Time did get reworked a little bit. They actually, kind of nerfed this quite a lot, actually, because Tides of Time used to have no target cap, basically. You could hit as many people as you want. So you could give quickness to everyone and alacrity to everyone, and you could also stun loads of people in World vs. World. I think this is actually mostly a World vs. World change, actually, so you can't give your entire Zerg quickness and alacrity. You can't stun the entire enemy Zerg or, like, you know, remove a stack of stab from the entire enemy Zerg with this skill now, which is probably a good thing. That's kind of silly, right? It applies swiftness for 5 seconds and 5 seconds of might for 15 seconds in a radius of 360. So they're trying to make Chrono a bit more general in the way it buffs. So you give swiftness, you give might, you're giving quickness or alacrity all at the same time there. So they're trying to extend its boons out a little bit. But yeah. All right, then. So they actually changed some wells too. Super speed on Well of Action. Actually pretty cool, right? You know, I like that they're kind of giving Chrono a few new tricks here, right? Giving it a little bit of fun stuff there to kind of line up with Scrapper a little bit. And Well of Recall now removes boons instead of providing alacrity. Basically, they removed quickness from Well of Action, and they removed alacrity from Well of Recall. And you have to trait to get the alacrity on the wells. Free bit of super speed. Nothing wrong with that. You're still going to take some of these wells, right, to give alacrity if you take the wells trait. You'll probably take precog well, because then you can do Aegis, might, and alacrity, right? All right. Not too bad. Pretty cool stuff. And you're not going to have that much might, but I guess, like, because of how much might spam there is, you don't really need to have a dedicated might source, really, in your group anymore, because that's just not the way the game is going to work. Not the way it's gonna work, I'm afraid. But yeah, there it is. What do you think about All's Well That Ends Well, healing on every well plus a lack? I mean, yeah, that's a pretty interesting build. I think something like that could be good, but the thing is, I hate to be really boring, but the question you have to ask yourself is it Firebrand, right? And the answer is no, it isn't. Necromancer. These are some crazy changes, right? Warhorn, for some reason, fears instead of dazes now, and you get bonus defiance bar damage because it's 1 second fear instead of a 2 second daze, so it has to compensate a bit. And Locust Swarm heals allies around the Necromancer based on the number of enemies hit, in addition to previous effects. We don't know how strong this is. This actually could be really good, and this is actually a big buff to Heal Scourge. It's actually a very significant buff to Heal Scourge, because Banshee's Wail over here, this trait now grants 10% bonus to outgoing healing. That includes revival speed on Transfusion and Well of Blood, and of course, you get more healing on Transfusion. You can apply regen when you dodge roll 2 from the Mark of Blood, and now that your Locust Swarm is going to heal as well. Okay. All right. Yeah. A pretty significant buff to Plague Doctor Scourge, or Celestial Scourge, actually, to be honest. And Banshee's Well reduces the cooldown of your abilities too, so you can actually use your Locust Swarm pretty frequently. It'll be like a nice bit of sustain you can apply while you're applying Barrier, and you just heal more with Transfusion. Okay. All right. PvP nerf. This is a long time coming. Corrosive Poison Cloud from 8 to 6 seconds in PvP only. This is a really good change. This ability is an absolute menace. It still needs a better telegraph, but this skill was absolutely insane. It was like pulsing weakness, pulsing poison, and destroy projectiles at the insane time. Absolutely crazy ability, actually. So yeah, nerfing that is very, very good in PvP. Well done, ArenaNet. And finally, a Reaper change here. Death Perception. You get 10% crit chance, regardless if you're in Shroud or not, this is kind of to try and compensate a little bit for the banners and spotter. Now, the problem is this actually isn't quite enough here, actually. Because Necromancer actually has a bit of difficulty with crit capping here, to be honest. Doesn't do super well with crit capping. So I think they need to add a little bit more. I guess you kind of have Decimate Defenses, but the problem is that you really don't want to take Decimate Defenses because it competes with a really good trait, Soul Eater. Reaper is really messy right now. I don't think this actually is a nerf as such. It probably ends up about the same, maybe even a little bit better, specifically because of this bit here. You might go, wait, that's a nerf, right? Because didn't you get 300 Ferocity? Isn't that better than 15% critical strike damage? Well, this is actually a modifier with the way this is. It's actually a modifier, guys. Okay, so yeah, so the way this works, it doesn't give you 15% critical strike damage, as in like 225 ferocity. This actually modifies all of your crits by 1.15, right? So this will probably actually give you bigger crits. But initially I thought this was really good because I thought it was outside of Shroud 2, but it's only in Shroud. Ugh. That is not good at all, actually. Very, very unfortunate stuff, actually, to be honest with you. So this probably ends up overall just being about the same. Because again, this 10% crit isn't actually enough because you either go Soul Eater and you need more than 10%, or you go with Decimate Defenses and the 10% doesn't matter at all, right? So this is what I'm getting with these changes. I'm sorry, they haven't thought about this. Well, I mean, if they did, I'm not seeing the logic here. Like this is a weird, random change, right? Yeah, I don't know. It's just not. It's not quite there. It's not there for whatever reason. And it just seems that they've just kind of done some random shit, to be honest. And this is kind of one of them. Although I actually think that one, in particular, probably isn't that bad when you actually calculate, when you actually crunch the maths. No. You need to, yeah, I know this is going to confuse people. You guys are very confused, but let me explain how this works. So, previously, it was an additive modifier. So, plus 15% crit damage. But now it's multiplicative. So in other words, it's better than it was before in terms of the crit damage. It modifies your crits. There's actually a trait like this that works already, actually, in Thief. Actually, there's a Thief trait that does this. It's actually better than it might appear, actually. But yeah, there you go. But yeah, unfortunate. Blood magic, they did the thing where it also works on regeneration. Okay. That's, that's something. Meme content, guys. There you go, I guess. Reaper. They buff Reaper in PvP. Spoiler alert, it's still bad. But they did buff it in World vs. World, which is quite interesting, since it's already quite good in World vs. World. And it will continue to be good in World vs. World. Another nerf to Harbinger in PvP. The Elite Elixir, 10 stacks of might instead of 25. Honestly, a great change. Straight up, it is. Like, this elixir is very fucking insane, particularly when you share it to allies. You just drop the elixir and just absolutely delete people in PvP. Definitely a good change to Harbinger. Not gonna lie, guys, right? Not gonna lie. Harbinger is still going to be really good, and I don't think these PP changes, I feel like they're not enough, right? The changes are not enough. That's what I'm getting from this, really. So I'd like to see some more PP stuff, but they're all, in the right direction, I think. So we do have that one going for us, I suppose. Not too bad, I guess. Good content. Moving on to Ranger. It's time for some alacrity, guys. More alacrity here. Spirit skills now affect 5 allied targets. Spirits no longer apply effects when an ally in the radius strikes an enemy. Instead, each spirit applies a boon to allied targets in the radius at a 3-second interval. The Nature's Vengeance trait increases the base duration of these moves by 50%. So in other words, you can go all the way up to 300% with max boon duration, which you will on a druid. And causes the spirit's activated skills to apply alacrity to allies in the area. And you get regen, vigor, fury, prot, and might. It's actually the same. It always was like this. So nothing crazy on the boon distribution there. You also have a little bit of stability on the elite nature spirit as well. I don't really have that much to say about this. I mean, you give Alacrity on Druid now. This is kind of like, you don't have the unique modifiers of damage, but you now have Alacrity. I hate to say this, but the problem with this is that now Druid is competing with Mech. Basically. Before you had spirits, so you had something that Mech doesn't have. Now you are basically one-to-one Mech. And don't get me wrong, I think that Druid actually has really nice utility. You have a knockback, you know, longbow is good, pets are good, you have immobilize, which is really nice. You have ranged healing on Druid. So I actually think that Druid kind of stacks up pretty okay, actually, into this. I don't think it will actually end up being bad. As such, but I do think Mech is really, really strong. And the problem with Mech is Mech has really good stability access and barrier, right? That's the problem. Barrier, guys. And it's not... Mech is such a complete package. It's just extraordinarily hard to actually deal with this stuff, right? Okay, it's extraordinarily hard to actually compete. But yeah. There you go. Nature's Vengeance. We already did this. 4 seconds of Alacrity onto 5 allied targets in the area. Wow. I mean, yeah. You know, easy Alacrity uptime. You know, not too bad. Yeah. Honestly, I'm actually, you know, weirdly enough, I think I'm inclined to agree with you, actually, Subi. I think Druid might end up being better. Because it heals really nicely. It's got good ranged healing. It's got better kind of like really bursty healing than Mech as well. And it can heal itself as well. And that's something that Mech isn't very good at doing. So Druid honestly might end up really, really good from this. Because its boon uptime is going to be really good. Like, I imagine the prot is going to be sick. Like, easy 100% in a massive radius. You've got a really good revive as well with the Elite Nature Spirit. You've got easy Might, easy Fury, easy Vigor, easy regen uptime on everyone. Very passive regen on all these abilities. You probably do end up actually being better. The only thing you don't have is that free stability stack and barrier. But there's kind of a trade-off there, right? Because the Mech has barrier and I guess a bit more damage baked into it. But the Druid has ranged healing, better revival, and probably really nice, wide-ranging uptimes of boons, right? Yeah, and you have swiftness too with the Warhorn. Yeah, so yeah, I think, yeah, Druid probably ends up really nice out of this patch because now you just have that extra boon of Alacrity, so it works out very well, I think. Skirmishing, you get Fury on Spotter now. I mean, you don't care about that on Druid because you have Giga Fury anyway. And they changed Soul Beast here a little bit. You just get a bit more damage and you get more crit chance from Fury there. That, again, kind of accounting for not having Spotter anymore. Grace of the Land, you gain 1 stack of Might instead of 2 in PvE. I mean, the ramp up is a little bit slower, but honestly, you don't really care because, again, there's just more Might spam in general, and you have Warhorn, right? And Warhorn is, like, quite bursty Might, and I imagine that Frost Spirit is, like, 3 stacks of Might pulsing every 3 seconds or something like that, so you probably have loads of extra free Might. I don't think you even care about that. You know, what I'd be really curious is if you would actually run Lingering Light. I think we're going to see how if you need that much Might. If you don't need that much, then honestly, you could probably run this and you just get like a bunch of extra free healing, right? 20% more healing while you're in CA, and 10% basically when you leave, which is going to be almost permanent, right? Because you kind of bounce in and out very frequently on Druid. So you might end up just going for a much more, you know, kind of like healing approach here and go for that. So yeah, definitely possible there. I think this change is also a bit targeted at PvP to make Druid a bit better in PvP, particularly combined with Natural Mender as well, and Ancestral Grace being buffed in PvP too. Like, more healing there, more Celestial Avatar generation, which is actually a bit of an issue on for Druid in PvP anyway. And yeah, that's content, guys. That's content. That's something. Will Druid see play in PvP? Well, probably not any more than it already does, right? It's kind of like a very niche build, kind of like a troll build with decap stuff, right? But there it is. Healing of tethered allies may now occur every 0.5 second interval. Healing may now be triggered by regeneration or other healing over time effects on the player and Glyph of Unity. So I guess they're trying to nudge you. They're trying to nudge you towards taking this ability. But yeah, I mean, they've given it an interval now. Well, they actually reduced the interval from 1 to 0.5. That's uncommon. I was expecting them to increase it because they usually do that all the time. So yeah, you can proc it with regen now as well. So this, dude, you're gonna heal like a fucking lunatic. Holy shit. So if you actually take Glyph of Unity as your utility skills, you take like you take 4 spirits and then Glyph of Unity, for example. Man, you're gonna be an absolute monster with this then, because you can proc that with your regen and just go for like mega burst sustained healing. Holy shit, that's really strong actually. Soul Beast. Oh, Dude, what the hell? Oh no! Leader of the pack. Personal stance duration down from 20%, down from 150% to 20%. Ooh, ouch! One wolf pack. Duration is down from 8 to 6, and recharge from 80 to 60. So those two things kind of even themselves out a little bit. Basically, they kind of like smush each other, so nothing really changes there. But here's the big thing. In PvE, they did increase the damage of the strikes, but they increased the interval from 1/4 of a second to 1 second. Now, thinking about this, do you actually get value out of every single activation right now? Probably not. And you do get kind of bigger, chunkier hits more often right now. So that does mitigate it, but you really are not going to get like as much burst out of this now. Like particularly on abilities, classes that do have quite a lot of little hits. So, you know, like stuff like Dragon Hunter can hit really quickly, or anything that's got like pulsing AoEs, you can like trigger this a lot, right? Because you can put them down and like spam loads of attacks to activate this. Or something like Tempest, right? I'm actually not a big fan of what they're doing here. I don't like the fact that they're normalizing all of these abilities so much. Having a really long internal cooldown like this is just so unfun, right? Like 1 second, it's like, doesn't feel good, to be honest. I wish they'd find another way to balance it, just like making it significantly weaker, but making it so that if you do actually have like loads of little quick attacks, it's really, really good, right? That would be really nice, but they aren't doing that, right? And yeah, this is going to be a pretty significant wallop, to be honest, overall, because you're getting less duration on your burst, you are getting less duration on yourself as well, and the interval is significantly higher, so you're just getting a lot less hits. You get like a 50% more damage on those hits, but you're getting a lot less. It doesn't really compensate for it, to be honest. Untamed, they actually buffed Untamed a bit. More damage, wow. So this is going to sound like a bit of a meme, but this is actually surprisingly... It's surprisingly better. Okay? Surprisingly better. Okay. Than you might think. I actually saw Enko playing Untamed. He was actually blasting, dude. He was pumping. He played Wing 4. He was actually going psycho. Holy shit. So it might actually be kind of getting it in the right direction to the point where it might end up eventually becoming quite good. That's a significant buff, right? But it's PvE only, I'm afraid, guys. It's PvE only, my friends. So yeah, not ideal for that. So PvP, guys, we don't care about you. We've forgotten about you. You don't even exist. But Untamed PvE, look, we're on the long road to it doing good damage, I guess. And I guess there is one interesting thing here. You could maybe do like a Nature Magic, Power, Alacrity Soul Beast, or even like a Ritualist Condi Soul Beast. There's definitely some potential there as well. Taking Nature Magic is a bit of an oofy, a little bit less so on Power Soul Beast, but on Condi, definitely not ideal, but there's some potential there that might get explored. Rev. You know what, guys? You know what we need? We need a Ventari rework. That's right, guys. Ventari, let me tell ya. Hell yeah. Because that's what we're getting. That's what we're getting today. We're getting Ventari rework. So, bonus meme. Okay. Wait, you don't get healing orbs. Oh, you just get AoE heal on the staff total. That honestly probably ends up a bit better. It's going to be way more easy to use there. So we actually have heal rev buffs here as well. And they removed Alacrity from Ventari because they gave Quickness to Herald, right? So that means that Salvation, base rev can't have both, right? Because that means Herald could do Quickness and Alacrity, which is something that they don't want. So they removed Alac from Salvation, and now Renegade is your Alac spec, and Herald is going to be your Quickness spec here as well. But yeah, they actually reworked Ventari a lot. So you have a longer knockback on Energy Expulsion, so more CC there. You have AoE Protection on Protected Souls. These are all kind of weird changes, because I'm not going to lie, I think they're actually trying to move this a little bit towards not running Glint all the time. they're saying, okay, you could run Jalis Ventari, and you get all of your boons from Ventari, and you can have stability, right, from Jalis, right? Almost feels a bit of a world versus world oriented change here, actually. And they've made it a lot, less cumbersome, right? So you can put your tablet out instantly. Ventari's will, so moving it, right, has a very low cooldown, so it's way faster to move it. And you can be much more agile with it. That's actually a really cool change. The healing is much higher on Natural Harmony, which is like the big heal there as well in every game mode, actually. Energy Expulsion just has way more Connicons, right? You got way more Connicons on the Purifying Essence. Probably it's 3. It's probably going to be 5 now instead, I'd say. Probably. It does. Wait, you don't consume any energy on energy. Well, holy shit, this is a big buff. It's going to knock down enemies that strikes instead of knocking them back. Okay, so they just changed the way that works in terms of the CC. Because I guess they don't want you spamming knockbacks, right? Like, spamming a knockdown is still kind of annoying, but a little bit less annoying, I suppose. But yeah, this really feels like some stuff that's kind of targeted at PvP and world versus world. And maybe some kind of interesting build can come out of this. Because as you'll see here, right, they've actually added a lot more boons to Centaur stance, right? You have Vigor on Natural Harmony, Regen on Purifying Essence, Swiftness on Protective Solace, Energy Expulsion gives resistance now when you use it too. So you have a lot going on there. You don't have Might, I guess, which kind of sucks so much on this build. So you're still going to be a little bit reliant on having Glint Dragon Stance for that there as well, I guess. They moved a few traits around here a little bit, which is exciting, I guess. And they nerfed Core Rev, okay? Garfried was saying Core Rev is good, and ArenaNet were like, you know what? We agree with you. We're nerfing Core Rev. But actually, in reality, the reason they did this is because it turns out this is a really weird ability in World versus World. You can actually hit 5 people with it. It sends out these little projectiles that pierce and can't be blocked. So you can hit 5 people and remove 3 boons from 5 people, which is pretty damn strong, actually. It's a really good ability. And with a low energy cost and no cooldown, it's obviously quite a very good skill. And now it's been nerfed. Bit of a world versus world cheeky change in there. Love to see that. You get a bunch more healing here. I think this is one of the ones that I want to go over a little bit more on the day here as well. There's some super interesting changes to Ventari as well, and to kind of like to heal Rev, I guess. Just overall. That's how it is. Okay. Oh, dude, this is... Ugh. This trait grants endurance when the Revenant removes a condition from an ally. Dude, why do they add traits like this? Why do they add traits like this to the game, right? Grant protection when you remove a Condi, and grant endurance when the Rev removes a Condi from the ally. I don't like this. I don't know why they do this. They're asking for bunker cancer in PvP, okay? They're literally asking for this. And that's unwise. Don't ask for that, guys. Don't ask for these builds. Yeah, I guess they're trying to push Heal Vindicator, right? Oh, God. Oh, no. So they're trying to make, Heal Vindicator. Ooh, yeah. But I'm not sure if you want Heal Vindicator, guys. I'm not sure if you want that. To be perfectly honest with you. Yeah. Dude, you're going to be, in World vs. World, you're going to be spamming this like a lunatic. Holy shit. Because you got Tree Song and you've got your Ventari. Dude, Heal Vindicator in World vs. World. Holy shit. Huge. And yeah, you could do like Jalis Ventari or something like that, something crazy. Although you'll want Alliance Stance because Tree Song is very juicy. So it'd be like Alliance Stance and then Ventari. Then you don't have Stab, which you're kind of sad about. It's kind of hard to fit all of it in, right? It's difficult to fit it all in for World vs. World, but I think you'll definitely see people mess around with it for sure, right? We'll see. Planar Protection, cooldown from 20 to 30 seconds in PvP only. So yeah, this is a pretty interesting meme here. Well, it's a good change. This is actually a really oppressive trait in PvP. It blocks projectiles and applies weakness. In general, this is a really strong trait. It's been a bit of an issue for a long time. Good to see it nerfed. And now we get to the fun stuff. Herald! So, they buffed the damage of Herald. So you gain 5% damage for every upkeep skill instead of 4%. And if it's not a non-Herald active skill, it's going to be a 15% damage increase there as well. It is not going to be enough to make it good. They're very cautious change here, in my opinion. Very, very cautious indeed. Not totally sure why they went for this. And Draconic Echo. You gain 1.5 seconds of quickness when you use a consume skill. That's basically when you use the flip skill of a facet ability. In addition to, I mean, this is still a good trait. You would run this anyway on Boon Rev, but the quickness duration is so low. And they even increased the cooldown on Elemental Blast. I'm not getting this. your uptime is going to be so scuffed. I mean, at least you have... I think it's a really big radius, like 600 radius, I guess, because the facets have a really large duration. But why is it not... Why is it not, like, 2 seconds at least? 2.5 seconds. Because you already have to go, like, mega boon duration to make this work. I think that it's probably... They should be a little more generous, okay? They're not very generous here, and it feels bad. It should be a little more generous. Vindicator, they kind of nerfed the bunkery build, right? So you don't have as much dodge spam in PvP. Energy meld, basically the F2, where you basically get half a dodge back. Good change. Dodge spam. It's not fun. Balance and Discord, this is whenever you swap Legend, you get a little heal. Again, reducing sustain. Reducing sustain is good, to be honest. Vindicator has been a bit of problematic in how bunkery it can be, and they're trying to nudge it towards a more aggressive role, so I think it's good. Good stuff. Now we got Thief. Thief changes, they're pretty weird. Good change to Spectre and PvP. The sustain on Spectre is a bit too high. You just get too much Shadow Force. You're super tanky. Reducing that down to 3% instead of 5%. That's a solid change there as well. The real star of the show here are actually the Shadow Arts reworks, okay? Oh yeah, they nerfed Seal Area. This is kind of enough to basically the Comedy Spectre build as well. It's a good change. It's a bit of a menace. Kind of an unfun skill there. Just projectile destruction. Locks you in. Quite annoying to play against. Very deadly stuff there as well. But yeah. Shadow Arts, guys. So, they've done some really interesting things here. So now, Merciful Ambush, okay, is an adept minor trait, and you heal when you enter or exit stealth instead of applying a pulsing heal. So, I think it actually works on allies too, actually, which is pretty interesting, actually, I believe. Yeah, so you actually heal allies when you go in stealth. How interesting is that? Okay, which is pretty weird, I guess. And this is kind of a running theme here, right? You remove condies when you enter stealth with Shadow's Embrace on allies, right? Stealth attacks apply weakness on Hidden Thief, right? You gain super speed when you enter stealth as well, which is kind of a bit of a meme there as well. Unusual one there. That's actually a minor trait there as well, because it used to gives you 50% movement speed, but now it gives you super speed when you enter stealth. Very weird changes here, to be honest. Stealing now inflicts blindness. I mean, that's so much fun, guys. Holy shit. Getting blinded, dazed, and booned in steal. Oh, I love it. It's so much fun. What a fun class to play against in PvP. Not ideal there, to be honest, but there it is. Yeah, I think you still got the stealth duration. They didn't say that they removed it. Running Shade increased the numbers of boons stolen in PvP in Wolf Sword from 1 to 2. They actually they nerfed it from 2 to 1. Now they buffed it up again. I mean, I don't know why they buff. Why do they buff Shadow Arts, man? Like, why? Ah! And you give AoE... I think what they've actually tried... Okay, right, let's be honest here. What they've tried to do here is they've tried to make support Spectre a thing. Okay? That's what they've tried to do. Right? They want you to be playing this kind of heal Spectre in PvE that also does stuff like, oh, you give super speed, oh, you give protection, oh, you heal when you apply stealth, even more, right? And when you're spamming your shadow steps. Will it work? No, it won't. It's still a bit gimmicky, it's still a bit weird. If they want to give it a proper build, they should just give it a proper build. They don't have to be obsessed with stealth, right? They should just give it a build that works. Instead of going in this direction, to be honest. You get your crit back in critical strikes. You give AoE Fury. We've seen that one before. Through other crime, you just gain free might now. Nice thing for a Lax Spectre, right? You just contribute a bit more might there as well. Okay, that's something, I guess. Still not going to give you 25 stacks, but again, might is going to be a lot less relevant these days because you're just going to get it automatically from just like spamming loads of abilities, right? Heal Spectre has no way of going in or out of stealth. This is true. Yeah. I mean, you can Shadow Refuge people. you got to have Cloak and Dagger, dude, you know? You got to Cloak and Dagger people. It's the only way. So, a little bit more work needs to be done here, guys. You know, it's, need a bit more work on this. And it's Warrior. You know what? That's a deal. I'm calling Nike. I'm calling Nike for Warrior, guys. Banners give boons now. banners give boons.
Great.
So banner defense, resistance, banner discipline,
That's actually,
fury.
The banner of defense.
Cool. That's pretty cool.
I mean, I like banner of defense. Like at like it'll be nice at like Matthias, places where you get comedies. Yeah.
Nice utility. And that, I presume, is... Well, we don't know how much it pulses, but are we presuming it's pulsing every 1 second?
I assume it pulses every 3 seconds with 1 second duration.
Oh.
And then... Or, because they want to make the double standard... Or maybe it even every 6 seconds. Because they want to make that double standards trait useful.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they...
It's not going to be... You're going to have to invest massively to get 100% uptime out of the Fury or regen. And that's the trend of this patch. Like, look at Herald. You have to have 100% boon duration to be borderline, like, useful. And that's I assume that's the case here.
Yeah. I mean... Yeah. The boon access is good.
It's nice. You'll be able to fill in gaps in like if you do like that first pull of a boss and you're like, well, this druid can't keep fury up. I don't know what his problem is. Then you can just swap to banner of discipline and fix it. But
and you give quickness when you drop the banner down as well. And of course you have charge on Warhorn, which now gives basically 4 seconds of quickness every 20 seconds. So, I mean, you know, you can do quickness with this build pretty effectively. You have a few banners. You're going to have a few kind of free boons. Maybe you take, you know, discipline and strength. So you have like quickness, might, and fury thrown in there as well. Banner, like regen access is actually really nice. Like support warrior kind of really struggles with regen access. So you can definitely do that. And I think it's really funny, actually. Banners actually become a lot more viable, I think, in game modes like PvP and World vs. World, because you can pick them up and carry them with you, which is pretty funny. You don't lose any of your weapons. You don't like get different skills, right? But you are going to be able to carry them around and they'll still pulse and you can reposition them if you want to. We don't know exactly how this is going to work, but I suspect it means that you can pick them up and it will kind of allow you to drop it down again, right? With like a button press or something like that. Like you reactivating the utility skill or something like that. So it's possible. That's going to be good. I don't know why they nerfed battle standard. I guess they reduced the cooldown so you can use it more often and you just have the pulsing boons going there as well. But I mean, I don't know. Like... If this feels... the warrior stuff feels very unattuned to me. Because warrior is probably the biggest loser in this patch because warrior was held up entirely by the fact that banners were incredibly strong. Right? That extra damage, you got the extra stats, that was absolutely so good. It was so powerful. And not only has warrior lost that, it's now forced to compete with basically Firebrand. Essentially,
yeah.
And it's like, okay.
In a world where Firebrand gets, you know, 20-something thousand DPS and has instacast every boon that you could possibly want on demand, and you have like 2 empty utility slots that you can fill in any gap that your team needs. This is like, that's like a 2022 Guild Wars design, and this is like a 2012 Guild Wars design. That I can't imagine any build with 100% boon duration that has to go into tactics and has to bring multiple banners is just playable at anywhere near compared to Firebrand. Like, just totally different league. It's a different game.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine.
It's tough, right? This is it's a bit of a tough sell on my end, to be honest, Nike. I personally don't see it yet for Warrior. I think there's some potential here. And maybe if there was a trait that made the banners give additional boons. So maybe if they make double standards also maybe give an extra boon to each banner. So you like really have really fucking nice access on this. Maybe even like stability on the elite banner, for example, right? Like, I mean, well, it's pretty questionable PvP wise, to be honest with you, but you know, I'm sure there's some way they could make it work, right? Some kind of AoE stability that you could use, or just slightly better access. I can see a support warrior existing. I think the problem is that a lot of these core trait lines are a bit scuffed, right? Like, if you're going to do this, your damage is actually fucked, right? Because you're going to have to go so heavy on boon duration to make it work, right? you're just going to get absolutely hamstrung.
And how many banners are you going to need to bring?
Yeah. What if you need like 3 banners? I mean,
which is most likely the case.
Yeah, it is most likely the case, isn't it?
And that means you're not going to have Signet of Fury.
Yeah.
So like you're going to have like full diviners with like eagle runes. It's just a putrid build.
Yeah.
From the sound of it.
Do you want to talk about
And you're tooting along with your warhorn and axe probably. Oh, doing like 15k DPS. Ugh. It's like licorice onion pizza.
Nike, do you want to talk about the where Warrior gets its 5% crit back?
Yeah, it gets it in a Condi line, which I'm gonna be fair to ArenaNet. In their blog post where they said that they're gonna give, it said many of the professions will get the 5% in a convenient power line. They didn't say all professions would get it in a convenient power line. They said specifically many. And I believe I said the other day, take ArenaNet incredibly literally at what they tell you in blog posts, because that's what you're going to get. Don't read anything extra into it. The words are parsed very particularly that you're going to get exactly what they tell you, and they have delivered exactly what was promised. Many of the professions got it, but not all.
Yeah. And the really funny part about this is that Warrior loses loads of crit chance and already has a bit of trouble crit capping. It's actually one of the classes that doesn't have the easiest time crit capping. And now it's going to be really hard.
In fairness, without having to have... If you're playing like a DPS build, you'll get Signet of Fury, so you're going to get 180 precision there. But like you're just losing more than other professions. Like it's just... Like it was already... Like the big picture thing is that Warrior, like as a pure DPS build, was not far behind other DPS classes, but like behind, you know. Like if it was at 37k and the other competitive DPS classes were like 39 or 40, like okay. But it's gonna be even, the gap is now even further. So like rather than like going, okay, we took away your banners, so we're gonna close the gap to the other DPS classes, they widened it, which makes like very little sense in big picture terms.
Yeah. They buffed Spellbreaker in PvP though. Warrior mains rejoice. Actually, quite significant too, actually, by the way. It's a lot of damage. Look at that. It's actually a lot of damage.
Non-Warrior mains are not going to be happy because they hate playing against Spellbreaker when it's good.
True. Yeah. It is true content. Yeah, they make Shout Heal Warrior a little better in World vs. World too. That's pretty cool, I guess. And they also nerfed Berserker in World vs. World. It's kind of an interesting nerf, actually, because Berserker is a really weird build in World vs. World. It actually hit really hard, but it was more of like a pad the meter type of build rather than like a really, really strong build, I think, as I understand it. It had like loads of pulsing AoEs going all the time, dealing heavy DPS. But it wasn't quite... It wasn't like an Omega build, but it has been nerfed down. I think that it's part of like the nerfing the range DPS in World vs. World is what they're doing with this. So there you go, I guess. And then they also did some stuff to Bladesworn. They did a lot of things to Bladesworn, actually, which to me is weird. Of all the things to change, they changed Bladesworn in PvE because Bladesworn is actually good in PvE, actually.
Yeah, well, that couldn't last.
Yeah, it's actually very, very powerful, as it turns out, actually. But what they've done is they've actually really tried to change the playstyle a little bit here into more of like an explosion focused playstyle.
Yeah, the overcharge cartridges, like, see, the problem is the explosion skills on your dragon saber are bad. So even with like the 15% more buff, now they become like roughly equal to axe skills, like your axe autos.
Are you excited to use Dragon Spike Mine?
No, not really.
Look at this. The mine is planted at the Bladesworn's initial location rather than midway through the skill, and explodes after 3 seconds even when not triggered. So it's very clear what they want you to do here. If you're going to play DPS Bladesworn, they want you to take Dragon Spike Mine and overcharge cartridges and use the mine on the boss. As you can see here, the damage is increased by 250%. Wow.
Honestly, this feels like Boot's bad build material. Like it's like a change. Like they did this for Boots, like so he'd have like an explosion themed build to build around.
Yeah,
and that's fine. Those players need to be fed, so whatever.
Yeah,
doesn't actively hurt anybody.
Yeah, it's good. Now, I actually don't play that much warrior. In fact, it's one of the classes that I actually probably know the least about, funnily enough. So, what's going on with tactical reload here?
So essentially what it does is you use tactical reload and you get your extra stacks of ammo skills, which is great. And it was just part of the rotation because there's a part of the loop of the rotation where you just don't have any stacks on your pistol and you're out of stacks on your Dragon Saber number 4, which is like the only good Dragon Saber skill. So it helps, and you're out of like Axe 3. So you're just running low, and so you use that in place of the pistol 4, and it just smooths out the DPS rotation. But the drawback is now it has this added functionality, which I'm sure they consider to be a DPS increase, where you charge your next dragon trigger faster, which is cool because like what a lot of people hate is the whole like
the downtime
sit there and channel while you're sit there and do nothing while you're channeling. And this kind of gets rid of that. But, well, one of the thing that people who liked Bladesworn liked about the class was that the rotation looped really nicely. It had like this really repeatable loop, and this will throw that all off, and there'll be some new rotation, and maybe it'll work out and be fine. Maybe not. Maybe it'll just be like pure cancer. Because I'm going to guess that you're going to have to just use tactical reload on cooldown, and that's going to have to somehow be in part of the rotation because it's probably too good not to use. But I don't know. Maybe I hope it doesn't destroy the looped nature of the rotation, but I have a feeling it will.
It's lava font. Okay, it's the lava. It's disrupted the rotation.
Yeah,
basically. Unlucky.
It's a buff, but at the same time, like. DPS go up, quality of life go down.
How do you feel about tactics?
I mean, it's a really bad trait line, and it's now worse, in fact.
Because the other component of the quickness uptime, which we'll have to see the numbers on banners, but it kind of seems like you might actually need all 3 pieces of the puzzle, right? Because banners have quite a long cooldown, 60 seconds. And charge isn't going to give you 100% uptime right off the bat. And you can't reset the cooldown of your banners anymore, right? Because you just pick them up now instead of getting your cooldown back. So you get Soldier's Focus every like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, or whatever it is on Warrior right now because of the tactics trait line. And when you unleash your burst, you're going to give AoE quickness and a bunch of might. And Empower Allies also gives a bunch of might too. So you can kind of spam out might and quickness on this build. But you are going to have to take tactics to do this as well. Now, I think there were actually a few situations where you would do this anyway, right? You would take tactics because of Empower Allies being really, really strong because of the extra power buff. So, obviously not, when that was the case, it's not the end of the world. However, you don't have that extra power damage now with this particular build, but you are going to have to take it if you want to apply quickness, potentially. And I think what they want is to create more of a support warrior style build, like a heal warrior almost with... But it's so awkward, though, because you need banners to apply quickness, right? And you need shouts if you want to heal people. It's so weird.
It's very... Yeah. So with tactics, you have 3 Grandmasters, and they're all, like, exclusionary to the point where you have to pick one and go all in on that one. And, like, that one, whatever one you pick determines your entire playstyle, which I'm not against that, but it's... The point is that you have 3 bad playstyles, like it's like you have the choice to play any of these 3 playstyles. Well, if they're all kind of bad, then that's not the greatest option. Yeah, it's like the trolley problem. But
it's the problem is you just don't have that one fully cohesive build, right? It's going to be you can play like you can play like half a build, right? That's what you can be half a build, not a full build, which is kind of what's causing the problem here, I think. But yeah, a few other changes as well. Electric Fence blocks projectiles for like the 3 people who use that skill in the entire game. They'll be happy.
Yeah, I mean, there's no more projectiles in PvE anyway, so I mean, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
They haven't added a projectile that you can like reflect in PvE since like 2012. Well, we should talk about Daring Dragon.
Oh, really? Okay. Tell me about
thing
Daring Dragon.
that they're trying to force. Okay. So they're trying to force this like alternative PvE Bladestorm playstyle.
Yep.
Where your dragon trigger doesn't hit very hard, but you do it a lot, like faster paced, because you have tactical reload and Daring Dragon. So you're just going dragon slash boom, dragon slash boom, dragon slash boom, like fast. And I understand what they're going for, and God help us if that becomes the meta build. It'll be like playing like an eviscerate. It'll be like playing Berserker, where you're just spamming eviscerate, like the same. It'll be the same thing over and over.
Yeah,
but not so fun.
I mean, we'll get a better idea of yeah, and I think they're just trying to make it less bad, right? They're trying to make as many options as possible non-bad. That's what they're looking for here, I think, a lot of the time, rather than like making you play it, I think.
So they could have salvaged this patch for Warrior pretty easily. So right now, for a power build that doesn't care about banners, there is nothing in Discipline in the master trait line for PvE. Like, you have 3 traits. They are 3 literal blanks for a PvE build. So double standards, that should be in Tactics. And Empowered Allies should either be in Discipline, which I don't think is a good idea, or Arms. And then you put the Arms trait that gives you the 5% crit into Discipline in that empty slot from double standards. Like, that seems like takes 10 seconds of thought to realize that that's a better solution, is putting that crit trait into Discipline and putting double standards into Tactics and then EA into Arms.
Yeah, I think that this patch just doesn't... It's weird because it's been quite a while, but also it feels rushed somehow. It feels that there's a lot of things that kind of haven't been fully thought through. That's kind of like my overall intention. Like, straight up, I think this is now no longer optional for ArenaNet. I think this is now mandatory. I don't want to be overly dramatic here. I hate to say it, but I really think ArenaNet need to sit down and explain what their philosophy is. What do they want the game to look like? Right? That's what I want to know, right? I'm just really struggling to see their vision for the game here, because a lot of these changes, they're just kind of weird. It's a little questionable. I'm struggling with these changes, Nike. Like, in general, even though a lot of the balance patches do upset people because stuff gets nerfed, stuff gets, you know, people's favorite classes gets nerfed. In general, I'm usually with it now. I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. I understand what you're trying to do. I get it. Fine. Nerf's nerf. Whatever. But this is probably the first patch where I'm kind of looking at it and I'm going, what the hell is this? Right? You know, it's like...
Yeah. If they were like, haha, just kidding, this is patch 1, and patch 2 is going to be a week later, the other half of the patch. It was all a ruse. Then okay, I understand it, but yeah, it just seems. I mean, I don't want to speculate too much on like ArenaNet. Like, it's their issue to figure out, but
yeah,
it does seem like there isn't like a unified sort of control over these things.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, I want to see a balanced roadmap. You know, like, what's coming next? Like, when's the next patch? Because honestly, we're gonna need one, right? You know, because if they were to say we're just doing like the groundwork, we're just trying to get the foundations in. All right, I kind of get it. Right? fine,
yeah,
I'll
take
it.
We have to wait 6 months.
Right? Well, that's what I mean, though. Do we have to wait 6 months for them to kind of finish it off? Because, you know, if then we go, okay, we're going to add stability to a few more classes. Okay, we're going to add this to this, right? Okay, we're going to fix the precision on Reaper. Oh, yeah, we're going to fix it on Warrior now. Yeah, okay. In, like, 3 weeks' time or 4 weeks' time, sure, whatever. I think they should have done a better job this time, but okay, we only have to wait a month and they'll unfuck it. Whatever. Fine. But I'm just... It really scares me when I see changes like 5% crit in the arms trait line, Nike. That terrifies me. I'm really scared.
My initial reaction, and I stand by it, is that is the sort of change that makes me feel that whoever on the balanced team was assigned Warrior has not played the class in PvE since 2012. Like, or ever. Like, it's so tone deaf. Like that is like, it's just not understanding. It's just not understanding how the class is played or what builds are meta. Like you could go to Snowcrows and within 15 seconds realize that was not going to work. Like you'd have like even if you didn't play the class, you could just do a little bit of research and realize, you know, this isn't the right solution. So it just comes off like it does make you lose a little bit of faith because, like you, I typically in balance patches I give ArenaNet the benefit of the doubt because historically speaking, what happens is a balance patch comes out, like the notes come out like this, people like cry a lot, and then it actually turns out the patch is pretty good. That's the historic trend, but I can't say that I remember anything as like just completely baffling as that furious burst in arms. Like that is just purely baffling.
Yeah, it's a weird one, and that kind of just definitely kind of
imagine that they put the crit trait for Necro in curses or whatever the Condi line is. That's the equivalent. Well, so for anyone that doesn't know, that's the equivalent. It would
to be fair, there actually is a crit trait in curses.
Yeah, well,
that's a really good one too, actually.
Back in 2012, that was like the crit line, but still, like it's just so, it's crazy, man. Like it's hard to believe. Hard to believe.
Yep. Yeah, it's tough stuff, and well, this is it for you, YouTube. Okay, I'm out of here right now. Okay, look, run and hide. I'm out. Look, I'm not reading the comments on this one, Nike. Holy shit. So leave a comment so I won't read it. Oh yeah, and definitely subscribe for more because on Tuesday I'll give the full rundown here. Actually, I'll get in there and get a proper in-depth overview of all the changes. We'll play around with it a little bit and figure out exactly what the hell's going on. But seriously, give some feedback, guys, okay? And be constructive. I'm actually serious here. Like, real talk, okay? We've done enough joking around and, like, memeing and trolling or whatever. But seriously, let's actually be constructive here. Like, this is definitely not a good patch, and it does rustle me a little bit. But seriously, let's actually talk about feedback. Let's be constructive. Let's be sensible. And let's have a proper dialogue about some of these changes. And let's see if we can communicate with ArenaNet without calling for them all to be fired, because that's just a little bit silly, guys, to be honest with you. So let's get a good discussion going about this stuff. Well, hopefully you at least found this a bit entertaining, you know, but anyway, that's it for the balance patch stuff. Okay, goodness me, it's going to be a bumpy ride for the next few weeks, I think, but yeah, that is the end of that. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Boom, balance patch done. Like and subscribe. Go.